Charles Bronson getting released or not? Well, he has a parole hearing coming up. Now, a lot of people who aren't really in the know, who are just seeing snippets on Facebook, on these pages that chat a lot of shit, saying Charles Bronson could be freed today. Well, Charles Bronson had a paper hearing, which was, it is a parole hearing, but it's done on paper. It's a paper hearing. These paper hearings hardly ever grant release or category D. So a paper hearing wasn't very good in the first place. But the good news is, people, he has been granted a full oral parole hearing, meaning he has the chance of going in front of the parole board and putting his point across and trying his best for his best bid for freedom. This is his 9th bid for freedom, and he sits in front of all the panel members, and he has a better chance because he can put his point across. But I will tell you now, people, because he's in HMP Long Lawton, which is a high security category A prison / category B, but he is in that prison, and I do believe he's in the unit, and he was in HMP Woodhill unit. He got transferred there because of an altercation, which I will tell you about in a moment. But if you're in a high security prison, you are a lifer. He is a two strike discretionary, he's a discretionary lifer, meaning it's a life sentence. You carry it for the rest of your life, and you will only be free unless the parole board see that you're no longer a risk to the public. But because he's in a category A high security prison, no lifer will ever be released from these prisons, especially if you're in the unit or the block and you're not even on the normal location wings, mixing with the other prisoners. I mentioned this, was it last year or the year before? I believe it was the beginning of last year, when he had his other hearing, and I've come on and I've done a similar video giving people the straightforward true facts. He is not getting released. People are pinning their hopes up. People are putting it all over Facebook. There's thousands and thousands of comments on these posts, on these pages that have 300,000 followers, and they're putting on Charles Bronson could be released today without having a fucking clue what they're talking about. He will not be released. He could be granted category D status, which I still highly doubt from that type of prison that he's in. Hopefully he could do. He could be progressed to a category D and go under an OAP wing, a wing where they just have over 60s on, where he will be a lot better situated with people his own age, where he then can gradually get himself readjusted to being on a normal wing, being in an open prison. Obviously, when you're in an open prison, it doesn't mean that you're allowed out straight away. You've got to do a lie down period where it's a few months. Someone like Bronson, it could be 6 months before he then is allowed like town visits where you get escorted visits. The screws take you out for a few hours into the town centre, take you for a walk around, and then take you back to the prison just to see how you react, and also to reintegrate you into society. But I do believe what will happen, if it is successful, they will probably give him a category C, still in a closed prison, but it is still a good move. Then see what he's like a year later, then category D, then finally release. Now, Charles Bronson, just going to tell you a few facts here. He's been in prison for 52 years. He is 24 years over tariff, which is fucking astronomical. He could have been out of prison 24 years ago, but obviously we know what he's been up to over the years. Everyone will have seen the the movie that was made on him, Bronson. There's been any amounts of different documentaries, and you've seen some of the ones where he's attacking the screws, he's refusing to bang up, and that is what he'd done for a lot of years. But for a lot of years, He hasn't done that. He's kept his head down. And he was in HMP Woodhill when he had another hearing coming up. And an absolute horrid inmate, fucking bacon, by the name of Robert Donaldson. This was actually in May 2024. Actually went up, I'll tell you in a second what he's in for. He was absolutely fucking horrid. Horrid man, convicted murderer. And he was in the unit with Bronson. And he's actually ran up to Bronson. Bronson's now in his 70s. And he has ran up to Bronson because that's the type of fucking disgusting inmate he is. He's ran up to Bronson, knowing he's got a parole hearing coming up, and went to set about him. Just because he's in his 70s, he's kept himself fit for them 50 odd years he's been in prison. And he can have a fucking bust up, and he knows how to handle himself. So he's went on the defence, and he's given two seconds, I'll tell you exactly what it was. He's given 2 hooks, 2 uppercuts, and flattened the bastard. But guess what? Bronson's then used violence. And the parole board don't look at it that he's defended himself. They try and say, you should have used a different strategy to cope with it. What you going to do? Turn your back and fucking run and let the fucking wrong and beat you up. He's defended himself like any normal member of the fucking community would do out on the outside. So he's given 2 hooks, 2 uppercuts, but then he's been nicked for fighting. But obviously nothing came of the nicking. But when you go up on your parole board, they'll say, well, you've used violence. He says, well, I've defended myself. But still, yes, you've used violence, and you're still capable of extreme violence. You flattened him. It was fucking self-defense. But the parole board don't see it like that. So Donaldson attacked a 100-year-old victim. Donaldson carried out a subhuman attack on a 100-year-old woman, Annie Steinberg, and her 76-year-old son. He used a mallet to smash into their home, stuffed stockings in the 100-year-old woman's mouth, and attacked her son with a bottle of Drambuie. What a disgusting, horrible piece of shit he is. So Donaldson was jailed for life in January 2005 for the murder of a man during an argument. After stabbing his victim 6 times and locking him in a cupboard, Donaldson returned to the property several times to steal items, including a television. So whilst in prison, he's attacked another elderly person. In 2014, while serving his life sentence, the bacon was convicted of attempted murder in 2016 for an attack at HMP Grendon. He lowered a fellow inmate into his cell and used a homemade blade to cut his throat, slicing his jugular vein. He then held the same blade to a prison officer's throat before being restrained by other inmates because they knew what he'd done to an elderly inmate and then to a prison officer, who obviously was a decent prison officer because the other inmates have restrained the horrible piece of shit. And that is exactly what he's all about. And he has tried to sabotage Bronson's release by going up to him and, well, trying to attack him. Wasn't expecting a 70-odd-year-old to give him 2 hooks and 2 uppercuts and fucking flatten him. So what happens now then? Now, it was last week when he was granted the oral hearing, but now it could be waiting months. When you get granted an oral hearing, there's loads of hearings listed for life as IPPs, and the parole board can't just give you a hearing straight away. You get put on the list. See, there's a list of 50 fucking people that need parole hearings. Bronson's going to be number 50, and they've got to get through them all. It could take 6 months, 6 to 12 months to have an oral hearing. So all these people saying he's getting released, he's had his hearing, he's been granted release, he hasn't, he's been granted an oral hearing. Hopefully when his oral hearing comes round, he's putting everything together. He's also spoke with Sky News. So Bronson has said to Sky News in a letter that he intends to expose his unlawful sentence and treatment, saying It's now gone on for far too long. It's become a total joke. The confirmation is a hopeful development for Bronson, one of Britain's longest serving and infamous prisoners, as it will mean a fuller examination of his suitability for release. So hopefully when he comes up for it, he does get a good. He's got to this time. They cannot just say, right, we're going to knock you back and give you another hearing in 12 months or 24 months time. He has to get a good outcome this time, but it'll not be the outcome everyone is thinking. It will not be released. It cannot happen from category A, solitary in a unit, banged up 23 hours a day. You cannot get released from that sort of imprisonment or that sort of prison. He will have to go category C. Normally it's B, C, then D. But they could skip the B out, put him in a category C, a bit like I mentioned earlier on, put him on an OAP wing with other prisoners that he's going to be fine with, and prove that he can be a law-abiding citizen with a law-abiding prisoner with these other prisoners, and he can prove that he has changed. Then he will get category D, then he will get released eventually. But he's now 73-year-old, time is ticking away. We would all love to see Bronson. That's why I keep the t-shirt up, free Bronson. We want Bronson out. Hopefully we get some good news, but I will keep you all updated. People, do not listen to the shit you see on these fake fucking channels, putting all this bullshit out about bullshit news, and people are gullible to it. They're sucked in by it. They're fucking even putting comments in. They're having discussions on saying he could be released this week. It's not. If you want the truth, follow my Facebook page and follow this channel. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video. I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you are still enjoying the content. And if you are, remember to comment, like and subscribe. Take care everyone, but most importantly, stay safe.